Hello and welcome back to the Coffee Buzz. I'm glad you're here. This is that small pause in your day. A few minutes to slow down, breathe, and sit with a verse from the Tao Te Ching. No program to follow, no productivity hack. Just some space to think. So pour your coffee and find your chair. Verse 8 today, and I want to read it to you before we say anything else. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus, it is like the Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you. Let's just sit with that opening for a moment. The supreme good is like water. It's not like light. It's not like fire or the sun or the mountains or anything vast and imposing and impossible to ignore. It's like water. You've been around water your entire life. You probably drank some this morning. It rained on you once and you were annoyed about it. You walked past a puddle without giving it a second thought. And Lao Tzu, this ancient, wildly patient philosopher, is saying, that's it. That's the whole thing. That's what the highest possible good looks like. I think he's doing something deliberate here, and it's a little bit mischievous. We tend to place the supreme good somewhere far away, up high, behind effort or achievement. The best version of yourself is somewhere ahead of you on the road after you've done the work or earned the credentials, managed to get your life properly sorted out. The supreme good lives in the extraordinary, the rare, the hard to reach. And Lao Tzu points at a puddle. Water nourishes all things, every living thing on the planet, every tree, every animal, every human being with their plans and their heartbreaks and their complicated inner lives survives because water showed up. And water doesn't ask for anything in return. It doesn't curate its recipients. It doesn't nourish the deserving and withhold from the undeserving. It just flows where it can flow and gives what it has to give without trying to. The last phrase is doing a lot of work because trying, effortful, self-conscious, look at how much I'm giving type of trying changes the nature of the gift. You've been on the receiving end of help that came wrapped in expectation, help that required you to be grateful in the right way at the right time so that the helper could feel like they had done something that they had set out to do. That kind of help has an agenda. Water has no agenda. It just is what it is. And what it is happens to be exactly what everything needs. It's content with the low places that people disdain. Water goes down, always, inevitably, without argument. You pour it at the top of a mountain, and it will find its way down. You can redirect it, dam it, route it through pipes, but given any freedom at all, it seeks the lowest available point. And we, we like to go the opposite direction. We've organized entire civilizations around going up the ladder, up the hierarchy, up the rankings. The person at the top gets the corner office in the profile in the magazine. We celebrate elevation. We teach it to our kids. We hand out awards for it at school when they're 5 years old. But the low places, we don't like to talk about those. The low places are where things fail, where ambitions land after they've fallen, where you end up when life goes sideways, when the job disappears, or the marriage ends, or the health crisis arrives, and suddenly you're not doing the things you said you'd be doing by now. The low place feels like losing, like being out of the game. But here's what actually happens in the low places. The water collects there. The soil gets rich there. The roots, they go down there. The low places are where things actually grow quietly out of the spotlight without anyone handing them an award. Now, this is where the verse shifts and it gets specific. Lao Tzu gives us 6 domains, 6 areas of life, and for each one, a single quiet instruction about how to be like water. In dwelling, live close to the ground. This one opens the list, and I don't think it's about real estate. To live close to the ground is to stay in contact with the actual texture of life, not the story about your life, not the performance of your life, not the version of your life that would make for a good Instagram caption, the real thing, the dinner table, the conversation that went on too long, the morning before the house wakes up, the ordinary weight of an ordinary Tuesday. Close to the ground means you don't float above your own experience. You stay in it. In thinking, keep to the simple. We have this tendency, and I include myself here, to make things complicated, to add layers of analysis, to find the nuance inside the nuance, to keep thinking past the point where thinking is helping. In conflict, be fair and generous. Now, this doesn't mean be a pushover or a doormat. Fair and generous, which is harder than winning. Winning a conflict is mostly just a matter of wanting it more than the other person. But being fair, being willing to see the legitimacy of the other side, even while holding your own ground, that takes something. And generous on top of that, leaving room for the relationship to survive the disagreement. Water in a conflict doesn't crash against the rock trying to break it. It flows around it. It finds another way. And over a long enough time, it shapes the whole landscape. In governing, don't try to control. This one applies whether you run a country or manage a small team or just the person who's always trying to run the family vacation. But usually, it actually produces a room full of people waiting for permission or quietly figuring out how to work around you. Don't try to control. Create conditions. Then trust the water to find its way. In work, do what you enjoy. This might sound like a luxury, like advice for people who have the privilege of choosing their work. And I don't want to blow past the reality that not everyone has that option. But I think Lao Tzu is saying something else here, something that's available regardless of circumstance. There is in most work something that flows more naturally than the rest, something where the effort doesn't feel like effort, Not because it's easy, but because you and it are well matched. And when you find that current, when you stop fighting upstream towards what you think you should be good at and just move towards what actually moves you, something in the quality of what you produce changes. Work done for enjoyment looks different from work done from obligation. You can usually tell which is which. In family life, be completely present. Last and probably the hardest. I don't know anyone who's fully solved this. We all have our versions of being in a room, but not in the room. The phone on the table, the work problem running underneath the conversation, the half attention that's become so normal it barely registers anymore. Completely present is a very high bar. Water doesn't hedge its presence. When it's somewhere, it's all the way there. I'm not going to pretend I always manage this, but I do notice when it happens, when I actually put the thing down and listen, when I stop planning what I'm going to say next and just hear what's being said, something in the room changes. The conversation gets heavier, but in a good way. More weight, it has more reality, more of the actual people involved in it. Completely present isn't a technique, it's a gift. And like water, it doesn't cost the person giving it anything they won't get back. When you are content to simply be yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you. This is the close, and it's either very obvious or very strange, depending on the day. We live inside comparison. It's the water we swim in, which is ironic given the verse. We compare ourselves upward to the people doing better than us and feel inadequate. We compare ourselves downward to the people doing worse and feel guilty for feeling better. We even compare ourselves sideways to the people doing differently and feel uncertain about whether we've made the right choices. Comparison is exhausting, not because it's morally wrong, it's just something our minds do, but because it keeps you perpetually off center, always calibrating against an external reference point, always slightly displaced from wherever you actually are. Water doesn't compare itself to other water. It doesn't wish it were a river when it's a stream. It doesn't apologize for being a puddle when it meets the ocean. It just is what it is, fully, and it goes about the work of being exactly that. Content to be simply yourself. I want to be careful here because I don't think Lao Tzu is saying stop growing or don't aspire. I don't think that's it at all. I think what he's saying is the difference between growth that comes from aliveness, from genuine curiosity, from the pull that something that matters to you, and the growth that comes from the anxious need to be more acceptable, more impressive, or more competitive in a race you didn't choose to enter. The first kind of growth is water moving downhill, natural, inevitable, nourishing everything it touches along the way. The second kind is water being pumped uphill against gravity. It works, but it takes a lot of machinery, and machinery never stops making noise. And as for the respect, everybody will respect you. I've watched this be true. The people who are genuinely respected are almost never the ones who are most aggressively competing for it. They're the ones who somehow seem fine, the ones who found a way to be at home in themselves, the ones who don't need you to confirm anything. Their stillness is calming. Their presence is nourishing, like water. So here's what I'm sitting with this week, and I'll leave it with you. Where in your life are you fighting upstream? Not where you're struggling. Struggle isn't the problem. Water moves through rock when it has to. But where are you fighting the direction of your own nature? Where are you trying to be high when everything wants you to go low, to go quiet, to go close to the ground and just do the thing that nourishes? What would it feel like to stop competing with gravity for one day? Thank you for spending a few quiet minutes here. This has been the Coffee Buds Podcast. Live close to the ground. Keep to the simple. Be completely present. And don't forget, the low places are where things grow.